No? Everyone's good. All right. Name's Daniel Guck, owner-operator of Integrity Wildlife Removal, based in Tiberias, Florida, and Lake County. Been nuisance trapping for my own for about 5 years now, and before that I was at a machine shop and doing that for about 4 years. Before that I was with another company, nuisance versus fur bearer. Some of these big companies like to have numbers and quotas that you have to hit to sell, and the big company I was with, I didn't hit their number. So they said, bye Daniel, we don't need you anymore. And I said, okay. Come around COVID, I decided to get back into this, and I found my niche in exclusion, keeping the animals out of the buildings, and a lot of that I actually contribute to my dad teaching me construction and some different things. He's a general contractor at Lockheed Martin. I've had a house built. I've seen a lot of different things. I understand how our homes in Florida need to stick up the code. We need to make sure we have drainage. We need to make sure we have air limit, ventilation in our soffits. Certain things we don't want to inhibit water flow or anything bad on our rooftops or anything below that's going to add moisture, mildew, or anything that's going to basically just make the house or the building worse or ineffective, essentially. So when it comes down to the nuisance portion versus fur bearing, like Kenny was saying, this kind of is where the money's at. We all get paid to trap, and we all have our trapping set, and it's there. But I don't want to personally continue to go out to a client's home every week, every month for the same animal, or every year, and continue doing it. If they have a rat or a squirrel or a raccoon tearing up the attic, I want to close it off the first time, tell them it's been great meeting them, and I'll see you later, hopefully at the supermarket, and not coming back to your house. I like to catch the animals, but with so many calls coming in, I don't want to continue to trap and 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 never solve the actual problem, because the problem's still there. So this is where it comes into this. Exclusion, simple terms, refers to the methods and strategies used to prevent animals from entering and inhabiting certain areas or structures in the garden. So you don't want that fox to dig a hole or anything around it. You don't want anything in that yard. So when it comes to keeping them out, sometimes we do dig barrier fencing, where you're going to dig a trench line along that fence. You're going to put a 1/4-inch hardware cloth or something else down with that fence line to keep them from going underneath. The whole idea, maybe you want to go out and continue to trap a fox every few months all the time, but they're going to like you a lot more if you can resolve their problem the first time, and they can pass you off to a neighbor who has the issue. And then that neighbor passes you off to the next one, and the next one. I can tell you now, 80% of my clientele, about 4 out of every 5, maybe more than that, comes from I have helped somebody the right way, the correct way, and they said, thank you, let me pass you off, and I go to the neighbor. And that's because of just doing good work and making sure it's done right. Common exclusion areas on a home and stuff. Soffit roof transitions, returns, things like that. These are going to be any of the areas where we're all looking at our houses and we see the soffit and the shingle and metal roof comes together and they kind of end. Those are the most common areas on a house from a bat to a rat to a raccoon, possum, or anything else to just squeeze their way right in. Your ridge vents. There's a lot of, anybody who's having a new roof done, especially with damage and stuff, you've seen the changes in ridge vents on homes where they're trying to put these plastic things in versus metal ridges, or you have the off ridge. It's like a 4-foot box on the rooftop. That allows airflow through your rooftop here in Florida, because we definitely need it with our climate, and that allows all that airflow. Well, animals detect airflow when it comes to structures. So when it comes to them trying to find their way in, they know an air draft is a passageway, and a passageway can lead to comfort. So they're going to go and explore. These ridge vents and off-ridge vents, even the 1/2-inch hole is enough for, I deal with a lot of flying squirrels, caught hundreds, deal with a lot of rats, gray squirrels. It is enough for them to just find their way in, and then they're going to wreak havoc in your attic from that point. Gable vents on the ends of the homes. So everybody knows an old classic home, you got the triangle vents at the end. Bats are notorious for wanting to fly up and land in there. Squirrels, I've seen squirrels run right up the stucco, chew the hole in the screen right there, and go right in. So you sit there and trap squirrels the whole time, where I can solve your problem, trap your culprits, and get them out of there. Sewer vent pipes on the top of the rooftops. You guys probably have had it done on your home. The squirrels chew the lead and all around the tops of those things. And that is a water moisture barrier to keep water intrusion from hitting your decking below where your rooftop's at and creating wood rot and mildew and everything else. And next thing you know, that's a weak part on your roof, and a hurricane comes, and that's gonna be one of the first parts to go out, is right around that pipe. Your AC lines on the outside, so anywhere where there's a cowling and a shroud, rats, gray squirrels, they love to use the bottom, up they go, and then they're into your house. Garage door frames, corners, very along the edges, they like to chew the edges. Snakes, I get customers who call me for snakes all the time because they just find that little tiny opening, that's all it takes, and they're in. Cold-blooded creatures, they like to, swatch out where they're going. Crawl space vents. I don't like crawl spaces. I'm kind of claustrophobic a little bit when it comes to those, and they're not fun. But from a ground level, especially on our old Florida homes where we have, crawl spaces still, like some of the new builds, every animal loves it. Every animal. It's a comfort spot. It's cool down there. It's shelter. You can get away from a lot of things. So all those vents need to be closed off. Open crawl space, same thing. No skirting around on modular homes or anything like that. You're basically going to be living with the animals underneath you and set up a house for them. You don't want to watch them. Fascia, rake trim gaps, things like that. So a lot of the times it's brick weep holes. We go over the weep holes in your brick foundations. Fascia, rake trim gaps. A lot of the times there's going to be little areas around the fascia edges if it's not done correctly, where like construction on the 2x4 and that piece of aluminum and the fascia and everything, it's just not right. Sometimes they go up underneath it. Sometimes they don't then end the fascia all the way into your shingles and things. That's an issue at least for the moment. And again, any place that pretty much has an air draft and animal things you can get into your house, they're going to be good into it. So soffit roof transitions, talking about these areas. The one on the bottom, you can see the hole where a squirrel has chewed through, down in here. On this one, this is a tile roof that somebody had. They just had their soffit redone. Their tiles are still good. This is the end result of your professional construction, right here. This right here, I can stick my entire head in. I was able to pretty much climb inside if I wanted to. So even a human can get into the attic like that. Very common areas. These are the ridge vents I was telling you about. The plastic ones, a lot of your roofing companies, we know the insurance now, was it 10 years? If you're not have your roof changed out by 10 or 15 years for hurricane, they're gonna charge you something stupid. They're putting a lot of these on your new rooftops. Those old metal ones are pretty much going away. Well, this is the issue, and it is becoming more and more and more of a problem in every state across the country at this point. Squirrels, and this one right here was a flying squirrel at this house. Chews right through the corners. Next thing you know, they drop in, they're done.
Now that's missing the shingles down below though.
Right here? Yes.
No, from where the plastic is.
Oh,
'cause those
yes.
shingles should be going all the way down.
Well, the shingles on the new plastic ones should not be covering this. This is part of your ventilation portion.
Oh,
so they're supposed to stop it short.
Really new, because I do have plastic ones, but the shingles cover the whole thing.
You might have a different style of plastic. So
Yeah.
if you see on these ones, they like round and channels going
Right.
in. Some of the older plastic ones, and there's different models out
Yeah.
there, will have what you're talking about, where they bring the shingles all the way
Right.
across. It's almost like a pleated type.
Right.
It's a little different. I haven't seen as much intrusion. There's a little bit more material for them to chew through.
Yeah.
But these ones, even before they start chewing, it'll start to lift. They use these nails, hot, cold on our rooftops. That tar and stuff eventually gives way.
Yeah.
And the greater pitch of your rooftop, the more likely that's gonna just pop right up. And next thing you know, anything. I've also seen, I don't have the picture of it, but I've come across one where a raccoon was able to get a hold of that and just start lifting
Oh, yeah.
enough that it started to rip back the shingles and stuff too. End caps, the old ones I'm talking about, we're all used to, they put the rubber cap, you can still buy them. Very common. So I wish they kept these. I wish they just upgraded and did better aluminum ridge vents instead of going to plastic, to be honest, because it's a lot easier to close off something like that piece of metal than the entire plastic. Off ridge vents, same thing. Top picture, you can see where squirrels have pushed in. So right there, actually, probably been a possum on that one too. Squirrels can if it's too weak, but a lot of times I catch possums going after rats. So a lot of times it's a rat or a squirrel or a bat job that I'm working, and next thing you know, I'm catching a possum somewhere, or I have evidence on my game camera of possums going in because they're looking for that prey animal. Issue with this one, so this is a towel roof, same thing, off-ridge vents just like on your shingles. Problem is, this might all look good. Each one of these little holes, standing inside of the attic, when I climb inside and I go like this, I can look outwards down each and every one of those holes and put my hand if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So you're inviting birds and everything right into the attic.
Yeah.
It's good for ventilation, it's good for water runoff, you're not gonna get a leak, but it's wide open. Back to the gable vents, on the ends, these little slits and stuff. It was hard to tell with this picture, but bats were taken up in this one, and the screens break over time, they just give way. So a lot of times I do a custom cover out of steel and ventilated steel and put it in. So it'll be a giant triangle that covers that whole thing and it screws into the wood. This is what I was talking about with the sewer vents. And that middle picture kind of shows it a little bit better. So, couple issues. Squirrels, rats, they'll all chew this. They're incisors, their two front teeth are continually growing. They need to file them down, they're gonna gnaw away. Now we have a gap right here, and every time it rains, just a little bit of water keeps dripping, dripping. It hits that wood below, maybe it's not going to your ceiling, you're not noticing a leak inside your house, but eventually it's gonna rot all this area underneath the decking until this completely goes out. If rats and stuff, this is another thing, if they wanna make their way in from these, they can drop down, and this is an elbow in the pipe, up in an attic. Once they find their way into there, that's a joint, you find that edge, and they just start gnawing. That gnaw came from the inside outwards, not out in. So, yeah. There's covers right here. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't notice the vent pipe, but
Yeah.
I have a mobile home and I just had a new roof put on.
Yes.
Out of metal instead
Okay.
of shingles.
Good getting that.
But when they redid my vent pipe, they
Yes.
used lead.
They use the lead. Yes.
And you're saying they chew that lead?
They do. So these covers, you can actually, they're called quitters. They're actually manufactured in Altamont Springs, Florida, right here. Guy's named Andrew MacGyver, he's a good guy. He retired from being an engineer, and he was 5 years into his retirement, and he was getting frogs and snakes coming down his pipes. And his wife hates frogs and snakes and everything else, and said, honey, I need you to develop me something better than what's out there, because the other ones you see have just the slits on the top, and the snake and stuff can still drop in. These ones have cones in the middle, water tapers to the center, so anytime it rains, the water can go right down into the center of that pipe. It still allows full ventilation, and I can't even get my pinky in there. No animal's gonna be able to drop into the top of the pipe with that. So, Amazon, Home Depot, I think, sells them, Lowe's sells them, all right here in the same way. So these are actually come in two sizes. So these are for your larger.
You'll be able to see if they're eating it, because see
Yes.
the PVC pipe will pop out, you'll see, they'll gnaw at the
Yeah, I
top.
don't know if I have a picture of a clean one, but
Yeah, that pipe is basically an air vent. It's-
yes.
Yeah, it is. It's
It's to keep
ventilation.
ventilation,
For sewer gases.
yeah,
and
your
that.
sewer gas and everything. You need to have that balance in the water and the air in your pipes, and that's why it's there. But again, those rats and stuff, they know that's an air draft and it's an easy way in, or they'll figure it out if it's the way in. The AC line chase, a lot of us, some of the newer homes being built these days, they basically run the underground AC lines, or they're gonna put better shrouds. But a lot of times on our older homes, even like 5 to 10, even about 10 years old, these things, all the pipes gathered together, they run straight up into your soffit, into your attic. That's a highway for a rat or a squirrel. They just hop right on, and out they go, and they're in. Garage door frames, and I'll pull up more pictures at the end. This is what I'm talking about, they chew the corners. This is all rat getting in. They chewed the rubber seal, they chewed the wood, and this started out probably with wood rot, like a lot of times it's exposed to the elements first, and they took advantage of it to get inside. So, once inside the attic, to an animal, our homes are playgrounds, giant playgrounds, and they love it. And they get away from the predators that we all like to go after. Basically free, more free than we are in our homes. Crawl space vents. Top one was a professional company. actually, pest control company, and the bottom one was a homeowner, you know, trying to do their thing. These are common. That, anything can get in. As long as those are open, they're finding their way in. So, good attempt with the hardware cloth. 1/4-inch hardware cloth is an excellent thing to use if you're using it correctly and kind of covering all the little areas. They should have left just enough of a gap. Use sealant. I mean, caulking, white caulking. A lot of times that stuff's gonna hold things in place like a glue. You're not gonna get back through it. And I'll go across some more pictures. This is a home I did about 2 years ago, open crawl spaces I was talking about. On this home, they had the lattice and everything going all the way around, but they did not have the hardware cloth and stuff underneath. So it is just me, but got one of my cousins and he got a nice paycheck for the day. And came back 2 days. Came out here to this home, we dug our trench line, I think it was 200 some feet all the way around the entire house. And this hardware cloth that you see was 12 inches into the ground. And then it comes another 12 inches out. And that's where if you have anything wanting to dig, to get underneath, they're gonna dig, and they're gonna continue to hit that. And if they try to dig backwards, they're gonna backwards, and there's still blockage and they can't get in. Eventually they end up giving up once their nails and stuff hit that. Any questions so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you do in this situation when people have to get in your crawl space to fix something?
You have to sometimes leave an open door hatch area. So what I ended up doing for this house on the driveway side, on the other side, over near their AC unit where they already had other stuff, I kind of left an area of the screen and the lattice to where they can quickly unscrew and fold it downwards. And then they can go right back up. And that piece overlaps, I think I left about 2 inches overlapping the other hardware cloth. So once any maintenance puts it back in place with their screws, you're good to go. So, sometimes there's, you can make a crawl space door if you want to, depending on how fancy you want to get. Here we go. Don't do this. Got a whole bunch of stuff and you pass out. Hardware cloth. It's just run and chuck in place. I think we're still going underneath. Never even fix the soffit. So your soffit, before you ever fix or do any sort of protection or exclusion, you have to fix what the problem is. So if your soffit tracking's flopping up and down, you can't just continue to shove material in there until the pressure stops and then just caulk it all over and be done. Fix the tracking, fix the soffit, make sure your house before you put exclusion on is structurally sound as anyone else would make it. Then put your stuff in place. Same thing, hardware cloth and wonderful foam. We have, this was a squirrel nest. This is one of my favorites. All right, I pretty much just popped that right off of Primar. That is concrete, I think I have it up here still. Foam behind, but if you notice here, this is called your fascia edging, or fascia cover. This area right here is about 3/4 of an inch open. All this material was behind because even though it was blocked off, squirrels were still going in underneath that area, right inside, and they built their nest now behind it, in with the foam. Yeah, so this was done 3 years before I got out there. The squirrels were still getting in and took advantage of having it blocked off and made a nest behind it. Same thing, the foam on this one down here, this is those off-ridge vents that I was telling you about. An easy solution, this screen right here pretty much keeps every animal out. Sometimes you'll see, like in my last slide where it's been pushed up, the screen has become weak over time. If it hasn't, just get a mirror in there when you're doing your inspection. Just look underneath, cool. All the screens in place. All the screens in place on the corners, on the edges where it's attached. This person sprayed foam, this company sprayed foam in there. That's about a 6-inch block of foam. You're now blocking 6 inches of ventilation for your area. So there's certain CFM that has to be going through, I can't remember the numbers, but if that's not ventilating because you're restricting the amount of airflow on each side, 6 inches and 6 inches on a 4-foot box vent, you're now left at 3 foot out of 4 feet, that's 75%. So multiply it around the house. So pop that out and just take sealant right on the edge. Just a little bit of caulking and sealant and tighten up the screen and the metal. And then now if that squirrel wants to try and pull it, it can't because you have that bonding agent between the two. Don't do sealant like this though. This is another one of these soffit areas and that's all they put in there. No, you can't just put sealant or anything, you need a backer material. Backer runs. So a lot of the times, we've seen this in other construction uses in bricks and things. It is a foam, but you're not just spraying it in there. It's designed, half inch, 3/4 inch, whatever it may be. I wouldn't put it in that area, but someplace like here, on that 3/4 inch right there, if I can't put metal behind or something, I'm gonna take 3/4 inch backer rod, I'm gonna wedge it, because there's a 2x4 under there, into the 2x4 and that shingle, and then I'm gonna put a clear sealant across the front of it. And the reason I put clear is because I don't like painted sealant, it just doesn't look right and doesn't match up. So now we're just gonna have clear sealant. Is it as effective as metal? No. But I'm gonna rely on it a lot better than not having any backer in it, because at that point, it's just a giant piece of rubber you're gonna pull out. You can grab it from one end and it just comes. And then aluminum. That last one at the bottom, aluminum is good. Coil stock, gutter stock, things that we can get from Home Depot. And you can fold it, bend it, do anything you want with it. This is some of it, gutter stock, brown on one side, white on the other. This was an attempt, and we can pass that around, of what we call a box out on a home that someone tried to do to keep them out of a soffit return. Oh, this is one of my pictures, you should do it. That was a homeowner special. Believe it or not, that's a potato sack.
Nice.
Yes, he just came back from vacation from out in Idaho and Wyoming area, and they had one of those, and he decided to roll it up and shove it in there. When I pulled that out, there was so much water backed up, and he already had moisture damage on his shingles. This rooftop's only 2 years old. He already had shingle damage and moisture damage on the decking, because all that was happening, some water was coming down the outside here, right there. It was sinking behind it and now sitting and soaking into all that material and rotting away. In the middle, that was a professional. I don't know how that was a professional, but that is black spray foam and hardware cloth shoved up into a tile. It did not work. The animals on tile roofs went right underneath it. The bricks, we got those. Sneaky, more of the ways they can get in. These are all little construction gaps around the fascia on a tile roof. You can see in the top left, they were able to get in through there. And that is basically 2 pieces of fascia trim on this brand new rooftop that come together, and they just didn't bond it the rest of the way. That's all it took. So, on a lot of these, you gotta get creative when it comes to closing things off. Bottom right, that's my corner box out. I've kind of specialized in starting to do this for closing things off. So, imagine if you're a squirrel and you want to hang out and just get away from your predators. I've seen it multiple times. They'll sit underneath the soffit in the corner area right here. Even if they're not going in your soffit, they'll sit there and eat their nuts and their acorns and just hang out. Call it a nuisance, drop everything, crap, whatever they want to do. So, I personally use 26 gauge steel, and I create my own little, take my measurements and my angles, and then I box it off, just like that. It's a lot harder than aluminum. It's stiffer than the aluminum. I'm not putting screws or anything into the rooftop. This is a 3/8 inch tab that I've been, and I put sealant right here for adhesive, and that's gonna sit right onto the shingle portion. That's all it takes. Good measurements, and just think outside the box of what you're doing. When you do exclusion, even if you're doing this for a client or for your own home, think about water and air. I tell every person that, especially. If you're restricting either of those, you're gonna be doing it wrong, and you're gonna hurt yourself in the long run. These are all a lot of different custom things out there. This I actually made, we were talking about a crawl space, a different one. So this is the metal that I made. Plastic outside. Well, I had this made, then I made that channel. But there is a material out there where you can make your own metal channeling on the outside and then put the metal in place. But down here, I put hinges up top. I made a 3/4 slide bracket or slide channeling that I mounted to the outside of the wall. So if someone wants to get in and to keep the animals out, all the bottom is sealed and good. So ground animals can't try. This is dropped into a channel in place. I put a hinge and a hinge up top so it stays locked in there. They undo the locks, and the whole thing slides out. And now you have a wide open, it's like 3 foot wide. Okay. Underneath here, anybody have aftermarket porches added onto their house where then it slides underneath like your, or under your soffit? So this is a back porch decking. This is your soffit. You gotta come up with something to be able to keep them out. So right here, made that metal, perforated steel, and then made it go all the way down the side, or all the way down the back. There you go. Bill, you're talking about the active critters. Those are the covers on them right there. So that's what they look like sticking straight up. You can, if you want to, cut them down to size with a saw and pitch, and just drop it all the way down. Some people do it, some don't. AC channel. The one earlier, I was telling you, it's open. Kept ventilation, make sure any air, water flow still happens. Not like water's gonna happen in there, but that's just how I think. This is blocking it completely off. I made just like a little U bracket, made it to measurement 4 inches or whatever it is, 4x4, and then sealant and backer around the edges. Now a rat can't go up.
I use copper
Yep.
Brillo.
Yes.
Like but it's gotta be copper,
Yes.
real copper, not steel with a little bit of
Yes.
copper on it.
Yeah.
And I packed that up inside of there.
Okay. There's another material out there, I don't have it, I might have some in the truck. Excluder, it's almost like a soft cloth type backer, but they take pieces of steel wool, and instead of just general steel wool, like we've been taught, you know, put it in
Like
place for
stainless
copper
steel wool?
or stainless steel wool, that all comes woven together in long strings. This other stuff, excluder, is that broken up into tiny little shards.
Oh,
Put
nice.
into it. I get splinters if I don't
Yeah,
wear gloves.
it's like biting into that, doesn't it?
Exactly, so when they bite into it, it's basically putting little shards into their gums and they stay out of it.
That's great.
Same concept though with the copper or steel wool, when they bite into that, if they bite through it, you now have a sharp one like a knife hook the animal, which is gonna keep them out. The top picture, these are some of my exclusions that I've done here. So this is a corner one, I don't know if I brought any portions of that. I can do one later. It's basically like this, with this perforated steel that I love to use on a lot of jobs. It's like this, but at a corner, at an angle. So the whole idea with this one, and I showed this picture because there's 2 different methods that I do. This keeps it a little bit flush, it's less noticeable. From a street side, that's white on white soffit. So it looks flush, it looks clean, and most of the times it blends it almost to the soffit, depending on how dirty it is. This other method, I did a box out method versus the flat method, so similar to this. Reason on this one, there's still weakness as far as the structural ability of the soffit. So I tightened it up, the soffit wasn't quite measured correctly, there was things I was concerned about. The target animal is also a raccoon. I like this method for a raccoon sometimes, but if a raccoon in the future wants to come back because now their pheromones have been marked at that house and you're putting a calling card out for other animals, this is gonna be a lot solid and a lot harder to get into when I have it screwed into the soffit up top. It's screwed and nailed down into the fascia along the side. It's adhesive down here, and I have adhesive on the inside holding it to the fascia. I am leaving no gaps for that raccoon to find his little paws and get his nails and rip it. That's what I'm trying to block for them. Do some more on the top one. So that B method that I was just telling you about, that's the top picture.
Yeah.
It's not the best one, but sometimes you gotta work it with the shingles. You see how the shingles curved? A lot of the times I get into these areas and the decking just does this. So you kind of just have to tweak and bend and do little things with the steel to make it contour into place. And I always make sure I leave this tab. It sounds weird. This corner, that little 3/4 inch, I'm doing all of this. And that's because I don't want any other animal to grab that soffit or to chew through it or anything else. But that rat that was getting in, he was only using that 3/4 inch corner, just right there. I could shove some backer into it. I could just do that, just seal it, and then leave all the soffit open. But now I'm still leaving exposed soffit for them to chew on, and then try and find their way in. Because now they don't care about this; they just want to go around it. I don't want them to go around it. I want to block the whole thing off. So, lower one, raccoon or something got in on that one. Again, I did brown metal, did the box out, don't want to get it. The stuff in the middle, or let's go to the right. Stuff on the right, you guys can order this, again, Amazon. A lot of the stuff is just general in the public. Critter, pricker. Someone decided the mold is, it's a plastic mold. Comes in 15-inch strips in a box of 10 strips, and you can do it like a pad, like I've done there. You can make one long strip, and it keeps everything. That was for flying squirrels. I had flying squirrels getting in on this ranch home and going in. I even did metal right here. But they were going in, climbing up this wood right here, sitting on the edge, and shoot holes right into the soffit. So I want to eliminate them harboring or being able to do that, and also chewing in. So critter pricker, they're pointy little plastic pieces. You put your hand on it, it's like a little bed of nails. So for an animal, they're not gonna like it. The plastic ridge vents I was telling you about before, where they chew through, this stuff's called Ridge Guard. There's a couple other products out there, but right now there's not much out there on the market to cover or repair or do that unless you repair the whole plastic piece. So this, I left the sample out there. Ridge Guard, or it's, competition's one similar. It's almost like a Z piece of metal. It comes up like this. You have a little screw tab, like that. And then it goes up inch and a quarter, whatever the rise is of the height of the ridge vent. And then it comes in about 3 inches, which you see right there. That's the top of the metal over the black of the ridge vent underneath. And that's to keep anything from chewing and gnawing and getting their way in.
You go under the shingles?
Not under the shingles.
Okay, just on the shingles or
Yes.
just up to the shingles?
No, into the shingles. It's pressurized. So basically when it's coming in, it's not coming in like this, it's coming into the shingles like this, and it has a little bit of play. So to an animal, it's already kind of
Okay,
pushing
so
in.
is it actually under the shingle?
No. So there's a screw tab right here.
Yeah.
And it's 2.5 or 2.25 inch tech screws, roofing
Yeah, yeah.
screws. Put that along the screw tab about every 10 inches apart. And then right here, it just goes up and Z's, and it's all pressurized. So technically, you can see how you have the shingles there on the shingle cap. There's about an inch, roughly right there, about an inch where it overlaps.
So your hand is
It's
the
pushing.
shingle.
Yeah, what's that?
So your left hand is the shingle.
Yes,
Oh,
left hand,
okay,
sorry,
I
left
was
hand is a
thinking-
shingle, we're
okay,
protecting.
I got
Left
it.
hand's a shingle, this is the ridge guard.
Okay, I'm
It goes into the top of the shingle, and you can see how it kind of
Exact
flexes. The tighter you push it into it and screw it down, the more it holds into
Okay.
place. So you can't get anything to pull back. That's 18 gauge steel. Any questions so far? I'm almost done here. Oh, that is good. And I can get some photos.
Isn't that nice? Yeah. And
So-
there's certain times of the year you can't do anything. You cannot do
April
anything,
15th to
man.
August 15th, you cannot touch the bath. August 14th,
Yeah.
technically. August 15th is when you can hang your one-way valves up in the state of Florida, as long as ambient temperatures remain 50 degrees Fahrenheit or above the entire 4 nights that those valves are hung. Must be in place for a minimum of 4 nights. Or the laws of our industry. If that temperature drops to 49 degrees, you restart that clock at 0, and you have to go back another 4 nights all over again. So if you're on night 3 of evicting bats out, or night 4, and it drops to 49 degrees by the National Weather Service in that area, you just reset your clock to day 0, and you gotta go another